Look, where we left off at was with Nate checking himself out of the hospital. Nate, Abby, and Lewis, they went to talk to Kia. They talked to Mrs. Ford. Then we had over there with Freddie and Joni, baby. They just doing stuff that they ain't got no business. Freddie then had Joni to take him over Lil Impala house, and he put hands on him because Lil Impala put hands on Joni. Yes, child. That's what we left off at. So let's go ahead and get into the next part of the $1 Million Demise. And so here we go. So Tim had to, he called to check on Nate to see if he was okay. He asked him if he had anything at home to eat. Nate lied and said that he had Abby to stop by the grocery store earlier. Tim asked him if he wanted company because his nephew really wanted to see him, and so did Layla. And he asked if Nate was going to be ready, to get Layla the next day. Nate lied again and said yes. He told him that he had everything in place, but he didn't because he talked to Mrs. Weatherly, and she told him that she was too traumatized to come back and work for him. She apologized profusely. Nate understood because she was an older woman, and he knew if he was dealing with PTSD, he could only imagine how she was feeling. But Nate was just going to have to figure things out because he didn't know how he was going to be able to replace Mrs. Weatherly so quickly. But he did tell Tim to bring the kids by because he wanted to see them. And he missed Layla. Nate was even surprised at how quickly the little girl had grown on him. After he got off the phone with Tim, he left another message on Freddie's voicemail. "You have my son. Bring him back to me or tell me where you all are. I'll come and get him, and I won't even tell the police. Just give me back my son, Freddie." Nate ended the call and decided to call it a night because he was starting to feel angry, worried, and stressed. And on top of that, his stomach was hitting his back. But there was nothing he could do because he had no groceries, and he didn't feel like going out, so he decided to go to bed. Nate was about to turn off the lamp when his doorbell rang. He couldn't imagine who it could be because it was almost 10:45 at night. And that made Nate think about the last time he opened the door. But he shook that thought away and walked cautiously to the door. "Who is it?" "I'm sorry to come by so late. It's me, Daphne." Nate opened the door and Daphne had an armful of grocery bags. "I wasn't sure if you had gone shopping, so I just wanted to swing by the grocery store and I picked up a few things." Nate was shocked but happy because he was starving. He helped her with the bag. She put the groceries away and then fixed Nate one of his favorite cold cut sandwiches and a glass of orange juice. Daphne was just sitting at the other end of the table just smiling at him. "How did you know I was at home?" "Well, I stopped by the hospital to see you, and the nurse told me that you discharged yourself a couple of days ago. Why did you check yourself out so fast?" "There are things that I need to take care of, and I can't do that sitting up in a hospital room." "Our subject, you do know that you didn't have to bring me food." "Oh, I don't." "All you had in your fridge was ketchup and mustard." Nate cracked a smile and told Daphne that he really appreciated it. But after a quick minute, he told her, "Daphne, this still doesn't change, Nate. When I told you that I loved you, I meant that. I understand that you made a decision about who you want to be with, and I get that. But do you know what you just went through? Just because you made your decision on who you want doesn't mean I stopped caring about you just like that. I respect your decision and I'm going to honor it. All I'm trying to do is show you that if you need me, I'm here. I'm not trying to win you over or anything like that. And plus, I'm on vacation for a while, so why not?" That made Nate think about what him and Daphne used to have. And Nate was in need right now. He appreciated the fact that Daphne didn't push him, after he told her that he didn't know who harmed him. And with Layla coming back, he didn't want to rush and find a new nanny. He wasn't sure if Daphne was telling the truth about respecting his decision, but he hadn't known her to lie, so he felt like he could trust her. He wasn't going to tell her everything right now, but he knew eventually that there would be things that she'll need to know. So Nate told her that he was expecting someone the next day and he wouldn't be able to take care of her. And he asked her if she could help, and Daphne said of course she could. So the next day, Daphne called Lewis and told him that she had a surprise for him and asked him where he lived and told him that she would pick him up. And when she pulled up, Lewis was shocked but overjoyed to see Layla. He hugged and kissed her 1,000 times. "Wait, how? Like where? Listen, I love Nate, but it is wrong for him to keep you from your daughter." Lewis was happy, but a great amount of sadness overtook him when he thought about Layla not being his. Daphne told him that she has a friend who works at a lab downtown who could get him in and out on the same day. Lewis agreed, and a few hours later, they arrived at the lab, but Lewis didn't want to get out. He asked Daphne why did he even have to do it since he has Layla now. He could just leave with her. No, you can't. Nate trusted me, and if I don't come back with her, he'll know that I know you. Then everything will be ruined, and I'll never get what I want. And you'll be just like your friend, out on the street, constantly looking over your shoulder. Is that any way to raise this precious little girl? Lewis knew that Daphne was right. Do this the right way, Lewis. Just go in there, take the test, and do it the legal way. Lewis finally agreed, and all three of them went into the building. It wasn't long before Lewis and Layla were swabbed, and then they were just sitting and waiting for the results. Lewis was a mess. He kept getting out of his seat, pacing back and forth, asking Daphne how long was it going to take, and she told him that he was going to have to be patient. He was just going to drive himself insane. Now sit down. Then after about an hour later, someone called his name from the window. He was so nervous, he told Daphne to go get the results. She went and got the envelope, passed the letter to Lewis, but he told her to open it. And right when she was about to pull the letter out, he told her to wait until they got in the car. Once they got in the car, he was still nervous, but he tried to give himself a pep talk, and he asked Layla, "You're my daughter, right? You my little girl?" Layla started giggling and said, "Yes, Daddy, I'm your little girl." That's what I'm talking about, and that's all I need to know. Go ahead, Daphne, open it, because I know this little girl is mine. See, that's what I want to hear, Lewis. So Daphne pulled out the results. Okay, let me see. Lewis sat in the passenger seat, squeezing Layla with his eyes closed, praying. Then Daphne says, "God, Lewis, I'm sorry, but it says that she's not yours." Daphne dropped Lewis off, and he was a wreck. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to feel, and it went on for hours. But around 9:30 p.m., he decided to call Eva because she did give him her number and told him to call if he ever needed to talk. And he needed that more than anything right now. He called her and apologized for calling that late, but he really needed to talk. She thought he was talking about on the phone, but Lewis wanted to come over. "Lewis, I don't know you that well, and I have a 4-year-old daughter who's asleep right now. I don't have to come in. You could just step outside. I got the results back, and I just really need to talk to somebody." About 40 minutes later, Lewis was knocking at Eva's door, and when she stepped out on the porch, she could see how red Lewis's eyes were, and she told him that things were going to be okay. And as soon as she said that, he broke down. She held him in her arms, and Lewis just could not contain himself. "She's not mine, Eva. She's not mine. She was all I had. Her mom passed away. The woman I thought I was going to marry went back to her ex-husband. I can't count the number of jobs I've lost. And now I don't have Layla." I was a loser at everything in life, but Layla was always here. Like, she was always there for me. I always thought I was a good father. And now I'm not even that. Damn it, man. Will I ever amount to anything in life? "Lewis, you're still a good father. And just because you're not her biological father, that doesn't mean that you aren't her father. Nothing's changed. But I have no rights to her, and that man has her. And he won't give her back unless I do something for him. And if it all works out, what can I do? Adopt her? Well, adoption is a process. Are you working? Have your own place? No, I don't have none of that. You have to have those things in place, because no one is going to let you adopt her if you don't have a stable household or income. Then what would happen to Layla? She going to foster care. Well, I could be a foster parent then. No, you couldn't be a foster parent because the same rules apply. Well, what's the effing use then? Listen, you don't have those things now, but you can get them. Have you been convicted of a crime? And do you have your high school diploma? No and yes. Well, there's a records clerk position that hasn't even been posted yet. I could put in a good word for you. Are you serious? Like, you do that for me, like for real, you'll help me. Yes, I would. And when you get Layla back, just keep her. Don't try to adopt her or foster her or anything. Just wait until everything is stable and has been like that for a good minute, and then look into it. At that point, you shouldn't have any problems. So Lewis headed back to Uncle Henry's house, and he was thinking that he would do anything to get Layla back. He just didn't know what. But he let himself into the house and called out to Mrs. Ford, but there wasn't a response. Then he walked into the kitchen and saw her sitting at the table with tears running down her face. He ran over to her and asked her what was wrong. Then he heard somebody walking up behind him and got scared. But when he turned around, it was Uncle Henry. "Oh, hey, Uncle Henry, you scared me, man. Give me my keys, Lewis." "Uncle Henry, I'm sorry about what happened, but listen, don't, because I don't want to hear it. It's not my responsibility to clean up the mess you two made. I tried to help the two of you, and look what y'all caused. Look at where it's got my sister. She has nothing, and her son is God knows where. My nephew is no longer welcome in my house, and neither are you. You can sleep in the garage tonight, but after that, I don't want to see you here ever again." Lewis looked back at Mrs. Ford, and she was crying so bad and telling Lewis that she was sorry. So over there with Nate, Nate had been at the hospital all morning just sitting with Monica, talking with her, and he had even brought one of their favorite movies. And every time he got to a part that they would always laugh at, he would look back at her in hopes that she would wake up and laugh with him, but she didn't. And that negative voice in his head would tell him that she's never waking up. And for a while, he was able to push those thoughts away, but as the days passed, it was becoming harder and harder. Nate kissed Monica's hand and then laid his head on her bed. Then all of a sudden, he felt Monica's hands twitch. He jumped up out of the chair and took a closer look at her, and then it happened again. So Nate ran into the hall and screamed to anyone that could hear him that he needed a doctor because his wife was waking up. He was so happy he couldn't believe it. She was finally waking up. He ran back into the room, but stopped right in his tracks because he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Monica's whole body was shaking and jerking violently. The monitors were going off, and he didn't know what was happening. Nate ran over to her, grabbed her hand, and he could see white foam oozing from her mouth. "Help! Somebody help! My wife is having a seizure!" A doctor and a nurse burst into the room, and when they saw what was happening, the doctor told the nurse to get a crash cart, and they were ordering Nate out of the room. "Get a crash cart in here stat. Call a code blue." Another nurse walked in and apologized to Nate, but told him that he had to step out. But Nate was trying to see what they were doing to Monica, trying to get around the white curtain that they were closing. "Sir, you have to leave the room, please. If you want us to save her, you have to leave." About half an hour later, Nate was able to go back into the room, and Dr. Paulson let him know that they had to connect her to a respirator because she was having trouble breathing on her own. "But we don't think she'll have to be on it for long, but we'll monitor her closely." "Does this mean she's getting worse? Is she going to pass away?" "Yes, Mr. Kenny, her condition has declined some, but that doesn't necessarily mean she won't wake up and be just fine. But at the same time, the chances of that are worse. But we won't know until she actually wakes up." So now the next day over there with Brownie and Daphne, Brownie went with Daphne to the clinic where Daphne was going to have the procedure done. Daphne was nervous, and Brownie really wanted her to make sure she was making the right decision. "Are you scared?" "Well, yeah, I'm 37 years old. This would be my very first time ever being pregnant or doing anything like this. So yeah." "So don't do it. There has to be a reason, at least one, not to do this. Brownie, stop it, okay?" Daphne was starting to think she should have left Brownie at home because she was making things worse. It wasn't like she was having the procedure done because she didn't want the baby. She just knew her chances of getting back with Nate were already slim to none, and she wasn't willing to risk that. And she knew that her reasoning was shallow and cold to sacrifice the life of an unborn baby for the chance of getting a man, but she didn't know what else she was supposed to do. But as she sat there looking at Brownie shake her head and all of the other women who looked like they ranged from ages 14 to a little older than her, she knew that was the only way. Because if there was any way she could keep the baby and still make a play to get Nate back, she would. And then all of a sudden, an idea struck Daphne. The smile on her face got bigger and bigger as the idea played out in her head. And she was so into her thoughts that she didn't even hear the nurse calling her name. "Daphne, they're calling you." "Oh, okay, come on, Brownie." Daphne grabbed Brownie's hand and walked over to the nurse. Where are we going?" "I'm sorry, ma'am. I won't be doing this. I've changed my mind." That's right, Daphne. I knew you would make the right decision. I could only imagine how Trevor would have felt about this. But he doesn't have to be sad now. You go, girl. Over there with Freddie. Freddie had just seen a mugshot of himself on national news, and he heard the reporter say, "It is now believed that Ford has fled the Chicago area. There is a $100,000 reward for any information leading to this man's arrest." That made Freddie get up off the sofa and go to Walmart to purchase some clippers. Freddie was so paranoid while he was in the store, he thought everybody was looking at him. And when he was about to leave, there was a police officer at the door, and he knew then that he was caught. He wanted to run, but there was nowhere for him to go. So he adjusted his baseball cap, pushed his sunglasses up on his face, and walked slowly to the door. "One moment, sir." Freddie, he just knew that was the end. He was sweating so bad that he felt like he was giving himself away. So he just stuck out both wrists so the officer could slap the cuffs on him. Sir, I just need your receipt. That's all." Freddie breathed a sigh of relief, gave an awkward smile, and got the heck out of Dodge. Once he made it back to Joni's house, he went straight to the bathroom and gave himself a new look. Once he was done, he admired his low cut and clean face. He cleaned up his mess and decided that he would go straight to his room to avoid Joni because she would have 1,000 questions about why he cut his hair and why he fled Chicago, the same way she's been asking him about Chicago since he got there. Like last night, she asked him again. She asked him, why did he try to sneak out the other night? Why was he trying to take Nathaniel like the kid was hers? She said that she loves Nathaniel like he was her own. And Freddie was not up for all of those questions right now. So he slowly started walking to his room, but Joni's door was cracked and she stopped him. "Hold up. Come here, Freddie. What's up with this new look?" Freddie just rubbed his hand over his new buzz cut and told her that he was just trying something different. You know, no reason, just wanted something different. Joni stood up, gave Freddie a once over and said, "I think there is a reason." Then she nodded towards the TV. Freddie made his way into the bedroom to get a look at the TV, and on the screen was the same mugshot he saw earlier. "Freddie, I think it's time you tell me why you left Chicago. Tell me your side of the story, because I just heard theirs." Freddie knew that he had no choice but to tell Joni what he did. And after about 20 minutes of him explaining what happened, Joni couldn't believe that Freddie brought that type of trouble to her doorstep. And Freddie said he tried to tell her that he was in trouble. "Yeah, but you ain't say it was that kind of trouble. Dang, Freddie. Like, does anybody know you here? I ain't crazy." Yeah. You crazy, and you were crazy enough to try and unalive somebody." "Well, F it, Joni. You want me to leave?" "Listen, Freddie, do what you want." Then Joni walked off, and Freddie was just standing there looking crazy. So a couple of hours had passed since Joni and Freddie had last talked, right? So Joni went to Freddie's room and asked him if she could talk to him in her room. Once Freddie got in there, Joni threw her arms around Freddie's neck and apologized for how she reacted. She said with all that he'd been through, she should have been more understanding and more caring. Freddie turned his face away from Joni, but she turned it back and let him know that she understood why he did what he did. And she let him know that he could get through all of it. "Freddie, I can help you if you want, but you have to want me." What? What are you talking about, Joni? "You said you loved me once, and that doesn't mean that it can't happen again." She gave Freddie a peck on the lips, and he was trying to pull away from her, but she locked her fingers behind his neck and told him that he came there for a reason, that he trusted her and trusted her with Nathaniel and now with his secret. But in order for her to commit to him, to have his back all the way, she needed to know that they were going to be together. Then she kissed him again and moved in a little closer, then told him that it seemed like somebody else missed her too. Freddie knew that it was a bad idea, but he didn't have anything or anybody. Freddie felt lonely, unloved, and love was what he felt like he needed the most in that moment. Then, against his better judgment, he gave Joni a deep and passionate kiss, lifted her up, and carried her to the bed, and you already know what happened next. Now, back over there with Daphne, her and Layla had spent the day together after she picked her up from daycare. They went to the lakefront, they went to the park, they got some ice cream. She had even taken Layla to see Lewis again. He was happy to see her, but still sad about the paternity results. Daphne and Layla made it home around 7:30, and she had to remind Layla about their top secret. Layla, do you remember what I told you? Remember, you didn't see your daddy today, okay? This is our biggest secret, and you can't tell anyone that you've seen your daddy, especially Uncle Nate. Layla smiled and nodded, and then Daphne got Layla out of the car. Nate was already home. He was in the living room reading the paper, but when he saw them walk in, he stood up and greeted them. He picked Layla up and gave her a big hug. How was your day today, Layla? What did you do? We went to the park. We got some ice cream. Then Daphne chimed in to make sure Layla didn't say too much. Then we went to the store and had a lot of fun. We had a pretty busy day today. So I know she has to be worn out because I saw her nodding off in the car. So I'm going to take her upstairs, give her her bath, and put her to bed. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Good night, Layla. Good night, Uncle Nate. After Daphne finished getting Layla settled in, Nate was still sitting in a chair looking at the paper. So Daphne asked him if there was anything in the paper about the guy who harmed him. She also asked him if he heard anything on the news. Nate said he hadn't, and he was looking pretty sad about it. She was just asking him to see if he was going to be honest because Louis had already told her that it was in retaliation for Freddie's girlfriend having a procedure with their baby. Nate didn't answer at first, but then he got up and turned away from her and said, he tried to unalive me, Daphne. He unalived his own father. And he's taken my son. And it just makes me wonder, why would he do something like that? Like, why? And has he done the same to my son? Like, what? I don't know what to think. Nate, no. Don't think like that. Daphne went and stood in front of Nate and he was crying. I waited a long time for a child. And when I finally get him, he's taken from me? Daphne had to walk Nate over to the sofa because she thought he was going to pass out. Nathaniel is fine. You'll get him back. You have to believe that. You don't know that. My son could be unalive right now. Nate, you always said that you knew that you were supposed to be a father. God knows that, Nate. And if you don't get Nathaniel back, he'll give you another child. What in the heck are you talking about? Daphne was feeling like she didn't want to say what she was about to say right now because she hadn't planned everything out, but she stood up and said, let me first say again that I respect the decision you made with your wife. What I'm about to tell you is it is in no way at all to change that. But remember all the meetings in the bedroom we had, telling ourselves if I ended up pregnant, we would welcome the child? Well, Nate, I'm pregnant with your child. So the next day, Daphne met Trevor at a restaurant because she wanted to talk some things over with him. When she got there, he was sitting at the bar. The bartender asked her what she wanted, and she ordered a Sprite with lemon. And Trevor was happy to see her already taking on the mother role. Trevor said that he told his wife that he was going to play cards with the guys. And even though she gave him a suspicious look, he thinks she believes him. So, why did you want to meet me here, Daphne? Daphne could see how happy Trevor was. No, he was the smile on his face, the sparkle in his eyes, and she knew it was because she was giving him what he always wanted. But the thing was, she didn't want him. She wanted Nate. Trevor, I don't know how to say this, but I did some calculating, and this baby isn't yours. It's Nate's. Trevor's expression went from shocked to sad to pissed. That's not true. You're lying. I don't believe you, Daphne. That's my baby. That's my baby. Daphne was thinking, and this is why I invited him to a public place because I knew he would throw a tantrum. Will you lower your voice and keep the restaurant out of our business? Daphne, why are you doing this to me? Listen, I'm sorry that man broke your heart and told you that he didn't want you, but trying to trap him with my baby? That's crazy. F you, Trevor. This is not your baby. And I don't have to trap anybody. I thought you'd be relieved because now you don't have to come up with any more weak-tailed excuses for your wife. You're off the hook, Trevor. Daphne got up to leave and Trevor grabbed her by the arm and told her that he doesn't want to be off the hook. He wants his baby and that he wasn't going to let her get away with that. And he meant it. Well, you don't have a choice, Trevor. Now get your hand off of me before you regret this for the rest of your life. Now back over there with Nate. After he heard what Daphne told him about her carrying his baby, he called Abby to come over and watch Layla. And then he called Tim to meet him at the sports bar. Nate, what was so urgent that you needed me here tonight? And why are you drinking? They can't be good. You haven't even healed yet. Nate, are you listening? And have you heard anything else about Monica? Totally ignoring Tim, Nate ordered another drink for himself and one for Tim, then told Tim to sit down and have a drink with him. Let's toast, Tim. To what? Man, what is going on? Take a drink first and I'll tell you. Tim took a sip because he was getting irritated with Nate. Okay, I did. Now what's up? Nate looked at Tim, then a smile spread across his face when he said, It's Daphne. She's carrying my baby. You know we've been trying off and on for a while, but neither of us thought that anything would come of it. And what I want to know is, why are you sitting over there smiling while your wife is in a coma? Your son has been kidnapped, and you have the nerve to be happy about this? Is there anything wrong with that, Tim? Everything you just said has broken me to my core, and you feel like I should be happy about something that I've wanted my whole life? Listen, I'm sorry, but I have to ask, how did she feel when you told her to have the procedure done? What? I didn't tell her that, and I'm not going to. Okay. Well, what about Monica, Nate? Do you think she'll accept this? Will she have to accept it, Tim? This is what I've wanted all my life, and I have it now, and you think I'm supposed to throw it all away? I don't know what you're supposed to do. I just know you have a son, you have Layla, and you have Monica. You have all that going on, and y'all were going to get married. You have a beautiful future. Well, you will have a beautiful future if you don't F it up. So what you going to do? Nate took down the last of his drink and told Tim that he didn't know. He also told Tim to stop by and pick up Layla the next day because he had things that he needed to do. So it was the next day, and now Louis is standing outside of Uncle Henry's house. He called Daphne and let her know that he needed a favor, and half an hour later, Daphne had given Louis a spare room in her loft. Louis was embarrassed and said if there was anywhere else he could go, he would, but Daphne had to remind him that they were a team at the moment, so she didn't mind helping him. A couple of hours later, Nate called Daphne and asked if she could come over because he really needed to talk to her. Once Daphne got there, she changed Nate's bandages and told him that whoever his surgeon was, they did a really good job. After she finished, she noticed that Nate was just standing still, like he had a lot on his mind. She asked him if he was okay. Do you hear that, Daphne? Daphne listened, but she told Nate that she didn't hear anything. I know. There's nothing but silence here, and that's how I've lived my whole life. But I don't want to do that anymore. And Monica has gotten worse. Sometimes I don't think she's going to... Don't say it. Don't you say that, Nate. No, Daphne, I have to be honest with this situation because if it happens, I have to face it. Daphne didn't say anything because she was just pretending to be nice. Because if it was up to her, she would vote that Monica remained in that coma. And on top of that, listen, Daphne, the detectives, they are still no closer in finding Nathaniel. If he were alive, wouldn't I feel it? Nate, listen, I think you're beating yourself up too badly. Everything just might turn out fine. But what if it doesn't, Daphne? I know you said you were, but I just have to ask again. You're pregnant, right? I don't want to be by myself again. I've always told you how much I wanted a child. Yes, Nate, I wouldn't lie to you. And you already have a child. Nathaniel, remember? I mean a biological child. And I do remember Nathaniel and I love him. But if he doesn't come back, I want this child to be in my life. I want my child here with me every day. Nate, I'm not separating from my child. I'm not asking you to do that, Daphne. Well, what are you saying? Are you saying what I think you're saying? Nate stared in Daphne's eyes and told her that they get married. And Daphne was overjoyed. She ran over and gave Nate the biggest hug ever. But she knew that the only reason he wanted to do it was because of the baby. This is because of the baby, isn't it? Is there a problem with that, Daphne? Daphne didn't say anything at first because she was thinking marriage is marriage. And if he just wanted to marry her because of the baby, that was fine with her because that would still mean that she would end up with Nate. No, it's not a problem. But what if Nathaniel does make it back safe and sound? Then we'll have 2 kids to raise. And your ex-wife, what if she wakes up? Listen, I've always wanted a child of my own, a child that came from me. You're giving me that. Monica could never and never will. So it is what it is. Now back over there with Freddie. The next day, Freddie was still in bed and it was approaching noon. Joni had worked him on him so good, he couldn't do nothing but smile and think about all 3 rounds. But he also remembered Joni stopping and rolling over on her side, only for Freddie to look over and see her crying. He asked her if she was okay, and Joni told him that she didn't want to be by herself anymore. And if he didn't want to be with her, that he should just get up and leave. Freddie thought about it and realized that the only reason he was a little, hesitant was because he still, felt the sting from Kia. But that was over now. So Freddie told Joni that he wasn't going anywhere because he didn't want to be by himself anymore either. So they went for another round. Now, as he lay there looking at the ceiling, Freddie knew that things had to change and change quickly, with his picture being all over the news and all. Then Freddie heard somebody knocking at the door, but he knew that Joni would get it. But after a while, the knock came again, and that made Freddie remember that Joni woke him up to say that her and Nathaniel were going to the mall. So Freddie put on some clothes and went down to open the door. Freddie looked out the window, and it was Billy. "What's up, man?" "Oh, my bad. Joni's not home. I just wanted to thank her again for the corkscrew." "Okay, I'll tell her." Billy passed the corkscrew to Freddie. "No look, huh?" "What are you talking about?" "Your hair. Presto change out. Why the move to smooth and sexy?" "Oh, I just got tired of it. But hey, I'll tell Joni that you brought the corkscrew back." Freddie closed the door, but it was something about the exchange that made him feel very strange, and he knew then, when Joni got back, he'd have to tell her that they couldn't stay there. A couple hours had passed, and Freddie was waiting for Joni and Nathaniel to get back because they really needed to talk now. So he just sat on the couch thinking back to a conversation that he and Joni had last night when she told him that she should just, ransom off Nathaniel. Ask for $5 million since Freddie said that Nate was rich. Freddie was confused because he thought that Joni liked Nathaniel, and she did, but she knew that a kid was going to cost them money. She knew that they needed money more than a kid, and she asked Freddie if he still had Nate's number, and he did, but he threw his phone away. Joni suggested going to the police, but that was an easy no for Freddie. Then he said that he could call the jail and ask Lewis to get in touch with Nate. Joni felt like that was a good idea. They would have Nate bring the money to them. If there were any police involved, Joni said that the boy would get it. And that shocked Freddie. He told her that she didn't mean that. And she said she did, and she didn't. She loved Nathaniel, but at the same time, he was their way out. And she was prepared to do whatever she needed to do to make sure they got out. Now Freddie was back on his feet looking out the window. He looked down towards Billy's house, and he noticed that before Billy got into his security cruiser, he saw Billy looking down towards Joni's house. And Freddie could tell by his body language that Billy knew who he was. He just knew he did because that interaction earlier with that corkscrew, that made Freddie feel like something was off. Freddie finally saw Billy backing out of his driveway, but he didn't turn in the direction of the mall, but toward Joni's house. A few minutes later, Billy was parked in the driveway. He knocked on the door. Freddie answered, and Billy asked if Joni was back yet. And Freddie knew that Billy knew who he was because he knew good and doggone well he did not see Joni's car in the driveway. "Nah, sorry, Billy, but do you want to come in and wait for her?" "Yeah, that's what I'll do." Freddie let the big dude through and then slammed the door. And when Billy turned around, he pulled his club from his belt. But he wasn't expecting a 9 to be pointed between his eyes. "Now, why do you have to go getting into business that isn't yours, Billy?" "So, it is you. You popped those 2 people down in Chicago." "Congratulations, Mr. Security Guard. You figured it out. But now, I'm going to have to take care of you." "But I called the police, and they should be here in a minute." "No, you didn't. I've been watching you stand down there contemplating whether or not you were going to come down here. And if you had really called the police in this little country town, they would have been here by now. Now shut up and toss me the stick." Billy did as he was told. Freddie picked it up and told Billy that he better be glad that he's Joni's friend because he would pop him. But for now, he was just going to take him down to the basement, tie him up until Joni gets back, and decide what he's going to do with him. They started walking towards the kitchen, and Freddie held the knife between Billy's shoulder blades. The phone started ringing, which startled Freddie and made him look towards the phone. And when he turned back towards Billy, the big dude was lunging at him. Billy grabbed Freddie by the throat and threw him across the room. Freddie dropped the stick, but he was still holding tight to the piece. Billy grabbed that hand and started slamming it against the floor until it flew out of Freddie's hands. Then Billy raised his fist and gave Freddie 3 quick ones in the face. Freddie was dazed for a minute. He could not see Billy for the life of him. Then as his vision started coming back, he could see Billy get his club. When Freddie finally regained all his senses, he saw Billy on his knees over him with the club raised above his head. And Freddie felt like it was poetic justice because that's how he unalived his father. Billy yelled with this mean growl on his face, and all Freddie could see was that club coming towards him. But then he heard 3 pops. He looked at Billy and saw 3 holes, center mass. Billy's eyes bulged, then his body fell over. Freddie rolled away and turned to see who saved his life, and it was Joni, standing there with a knife and a blank look on her face. So later on that night, Freddie and Joni drove Billy's security car about 40 minutes away from her house. Nathaniel was asleep and Billy was in the trunk. They pulled over to a secluded area and quietly got out, making sure not to wake up Nathaniel. Freddie opened the trunk, pulled out 2 shovels, and they started digging. It took them about 2 hours to dig a hole deep enough, and then they drug Billy's body from the trunk and dropped it in the hole, then filled it back in and just stood there looking at each other. Joni, you did what you had to do. Don't feel guilty about it. Joni looked at Freddie with not a trace of guilt on her face and said, I don't. Now let's go. Now back over there with Daphne. Daphne was about to enter her building when she felt a presence behind her. She turned around and it was Trevor. He apologized for scaring her and she asked him if he was stalking her. He said that he wasn't, and all he wanted to do was talk. He'd been trying to call her, but all of the calls went unanswered. And Daphne told him that it was because there was nothing to talk about. Trevor told her that maybe there was nothing to talk about, but there was something that needed to be done. And Trevor said that he'd done some research and there was a DNA test that could be done on the fetus to determine paternity. Daphne gave Trevor a quick no to that idea and told him that she was not going to be his lab rat. I say the baby's not yours, then it's not yours, Trevor. And there's nothing you can do but accept it. I don't have to accept anything, Daphne. Yes, you do. And if you come around here again, I'm going to file a restraining order against you and I'm going to tell your wife. Now get the F from around me and don't come back. This isn't over, Daphne. Nate was sitting at home in the dark, letting his thoughts overtake his mind. He was wondering if it was right for him to feel happy if he lost his wife, if she never woke up. He was thinking about Nathaniel, the situation, everything. Then he got up from his chair, grabbed his keys, and got in his car. He wasn't sure if he should be driving, but he just couldn't take being in that house any longer. So he drove over to Tim's. Nate, what are you doing here? I thought you weren't getting Layla until tomorrow. I'm not. Can you get away for a minute? Nate, it's 11 o'clock. Is that a yes or a no? Tim grabbed his shoes and left with Nate. This time, Nate let Tim drive. They drove for a minute until Nate told him to pull the car over. Nate got out and stood in front of a chain link fence looking at a pile of rubble. Nate told Tim that is what started it all. That was Ford's house. Wait, the place you took and sold? There was a moment of silence between the two of them before Tim told Nate that it wasn't his fault. Who said that I was thinking that? Ain't none of this my fault. I didn't do this to myself or my wife, and I didn't take my son to God knows where. But whatever it takes to find that man and make him pay for what he's done, I'm going to do it. Lord, please, Father God, help me find Nathaniel. Whatever I have to do, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Just help me find him. Now, over there with Lewis, it was now 6 in the morning, and Lewis sat straight up in the bed because he just had a nightmare of Layla calling out for him, asking him where was he. He was trying to find her, but the sound became fainter and fainter, and then everything went silent. Lewis got out of bed, threw on some clothes, and just looked at himself in the mirror. He felt like a loser. Even though the DNA test said that Layla wasn't his, he was going to get another test done. And if that one still said that he wasn't the dad, he didn't know what he was going to do, because that would mean that Nate had just as much right to Layla as he did. Lewis wished there was a way he could convince Nate to give Layla back. Just then, his phone rang. He didn't know who could be calling him from a 404 number, but he answered it anyway. I should have known you were going to get out. They let me out because there was no one there to press charges, seeing that you popped both of them. Then, I guess you owe me, right? I don't owe you a motherfucking thing, but it's whooping. Hold up, bro, hold up. Before you get to cussing and talking about putting hands on me, you might want to find out why I'm calling you in the first place. What do you want, Freddie? I got a little proposition for you. I need you to get in touch with that dog tail Nate Kenny, okay? Just do that for me. Now, I think this little situation may help everybody, all right? Now, back over there with Daphne, Daphne went over to Nate's to make him breakfast. He wasn't expecting it, but he appreciated it. After breakfast, Daphne asked him what he had planned for the day, and before he could answer, his phone rang. Daphne watched Nate as he frowned while he talked to whoever it was on the phone, and he told the person that he didn't have to meet them anywhere and not to play with him. After a few more minutes, Nate told the person on the phone that he'd meet them somewhere in about half an hour, then he hung up. There was a man named Lewis Waters. He had a lot to do with what happened to me and Monica. I thought you said you didn't know who popped you. I lied. I do know, and Lewis has spoken to the man who did it, and Lewis wants to meet with me. Will you go with me? After 30 minutes, Nate and Daphne arrived at Taylor's. Daphne stayed in the car, and Nate went in to find Lewis, and Lewis was at their usual table. Without saying hello or anything, Nate told Lewis to tell him what Freddie said. Are you going to give me my daughter back? I already told you that you're not getting Layla back until I get Nathaniel back. Now tell me what he said. He said that he wants to make a deal and there's a way for you to get him back. Now I need my daughter back. Not for this little bit of information. For all I know, you could be trying to play me. I give you Layla, then you take off. No way. Then take me to her. If this information helps you get your son back, then I get Layla. Nate was thinking about it, but then he said no. Fine. I'm going to get my daughter back because I know where she is. But you don't know where your son is. And if you keep playing this like it's a game, you'll never see him again. And Lewis was about to walk out, but Nate told him to wait. They walked up to Daphne's car, and Nate told him to get in the back. Daphne, this is Lewis Waters, the man I told you about earlier. Pleased to meet you. Nate pulled out his phone, called and told Tim that he was about to stop by with Lewis. 20 minutes later, they arrived at Tim's. Nate rang the doorbell, and Tim opened the door, giving Lewis a hateful glare. Where's my daughter? Tim looked at Nate. He didn't ask you the question. I did. Where is my daughter? Tim ignored Lewis again and continued to look at Nate. Once Nate gave him the okay, Tim told Lewis to follow him. They went into the kitchen, and Layla was sitting with Tim's wife. The woman stood up and stepped in front of Layla as to protect her. Is there a problem, miss? She didn't say anything to Lewis, but turned to Layla and told her, I'm going to step out now, okay? But if you need anything, just call me and I'll be right outside this room. She walked past Lewis and rolled her eyes. Lewis wanted to cuss her out, but he put all that to the side and gave all his attention to Layla. He picked her up and told her how much he was happy to see her. He walked back into the living room with Layla. I kept my end of the deal, Lewis. Now call forward. Lewis noticed that Tim whispered something to his wife, and the lady walked over to take Layla. But Lewis just pulled her closer, and Nate told Lewis to let Cynthia take her because he was sure he didn't want Layla hearing that phone call. But before Lewis let her go, he whispered to Layla, if you need anything, just call me. I'll be right outside this room. Cynthia rolled her eyes at Lewis again and took Layla out of the room. He looked over at Nate and asked him if he was ready, and Nate said that he was ready, so let's do this. Now, over there with Freddie and Joni, they were waiting for the phone call from Lewis. Joni was getting nervous because it was past the time Freddie told Lewis to call him. Freddie was starting to worry because he was wondering if he made a mistake by giving Lewis his number, but he wondered if Lewis had called the police also. But then the phone rang. Freddie, this is Lewis, and Nate is right here. Where's my son? I took him. Where you think he is? You better not have harmed a hair on his head. And if I did, I'll get rid of you. Man, please. You're lucky to still be breathing yourself. But since you're still alive, you can do me a favor. I'm not doing anything for you until I get my son back. Nah, you gonna do exactly what I say, and I'll think about giving you the kid back. So you're gonna take a plane to Atlanta. I'll call you back with the flight number. Rent a car and drive it to where I tell you, and bring a suitcase filled with $5 million, all in $100 bills. $5 million? You got a problem with that? No, I don't. And I shouldn't have to tell you this, but if you involve the police or anybody else, I'm popping the kid. You hear me? I want to speak to my son. Freddie walked over to Nathaniel and told him that his daddy was on the phone. Daddy? Nathaniel. Then Freddie took the phone. Listen, Nate, you can't be getting all conversational, all right? You clear on everything I told you? Yes, I am. I heard you, you old sick bastard. All right, cool. And remember, everything I told you. Don't try no slicks, Nate, because you know I will not have a problem getting rid of this boy. Then Freddie hung up. He wrapped his arms around Joni and Nathaniel, and he said that they were going to be rich. So Nate hung up the phone and passed it back to Lewis. He told them everything that Freddie said and that he thinks that Nathaniel is okay. Tim was ready to call the police, but Nate told him to put that phone down because Freddie said if they got the police involved, that he would unalive Nathaniel. Tim said that Freddie was bluffing. Lewis, if I get the police involved, will he actually unalive my son? Well, if he feels like he has to, yeah, he'll do it. And Nate, how does it feel to have someone hold your kid hostage? And it wasn't until Lewis said that Nate realized that that was exactly what he was doing to Lewis. They wanted to know what was going to happen next, and Nate told them that Freddie was going to call them back with flight details and where to meet him. Tim and Daphne felt like Nate should call the police, but Nate didn't think so because he has the money that Freddie wants. Then his phone started ringing. This is Nate Kenny. Mr. Kenny, this is Dr. Beck. You need to get over to the hospital now. Nate was so nervous about what the doctor was about to say. He was stuttering and had some very scary thoughts running through his mind. Is everything okay? Your wife, she just woke up and she's asking about you. Everybody was looking at Nate trying to figure out who had just called him. Then Nate said, Tim, grab your keys. I need you to take me to the hospital. Monica's awake. I need to get there now. I'm going with you. Lewis, you're not going with me? Now, I can't stop you from seeing her, but you for sure ain't going with me. Daphne wanted to be by Nate's side, so she asked Lewis if he wanted her to take him. But Nate looked at Daphne with a lot of compassion and told her that he didn't think that was a good idea, but he told her that she should take Lewis to wherever he needs to go. So they all went their separate ways. Daphne and Lewis were sitting at a red light, and Daphne couldn't help but think about how happy Nate seemed to find out that Monica was awake. But that made Daphne feel like whatever ground she gained with Nate had disappeared. So she asked Lewis what were they supposed to do now, and Lewis said that nothing had changed. He told Daphne to find out when Nate won't be at the hospital, and he would go up there and tell Monica everything that Nate had done to him, her, and Freddie. Now, Nate and Tim arrived at the hospital. They talked to the doctor, who told Nate that Monica was off the ventilator, there was no brain damage, and that they were going to keep her a few more days for observation, and if everything was good, she'd be discharged. Then they took the elevator up to Monica's floor, walked down to her room, but Nate froze. He was scared to go in because he didn't know what to expect. Nate, the doctor said that she was fine. She's right in that room waiting for you. Okay, you're right. Come on, let's go in. When they walked in, Monica was sitting up, and when she saw Nate, she held her hand out to him and they embraced. Nate was crying. Monica smiled at Tim and thanked him for being there. I love you, Monica. I love you too, Nate. Later on that night, to celebrate their soon-to-be rich life, Joni and Freddie were enjoying each other and having a pretty steamy meeting in the bedroom. Once they finished, they just laid there planning out their future once they received the $5 million. Then they heard the doorbell, which startled them because it was after 9. Freddie asked Joni if she was expecting anybody, and she said no, but she was going to go down and see who it was. What if it's about you know who? I don't think it is. I mean, sometimes he goes out of town for a couple of days with his male friends and no one seems to miss him then. And plus, it's only been a day. But let me go see who it is. Freddie put on some pants and grabbed his 9. As he quietly went down the stairs, he could hear Joni tell someone that she hadn't seen Billy and saying that sometimes, he'll take a road trip with one of his friends. Yeah, I know. But for some reason, I got a funny feeling that something is wrong. Because one of our co-workers' birthday was today. And Billy has a crush on her. So I know he wouldn't have missed that. Well, I don't know then. Oh, and Billy told me that you got a cute guy staying with you. He said that he was from out of town. Do you think he may have saw something? I doubt it. But I'll ask him when he gets up. But I'm sure Billy, he'll probably show up or call by tomorrow. You know how he is. You're probably right, girl. Well, if you see his ass, let him know that I don't appreciate him making me worry like this. I will, girl. You take care and drive safely now. Joni closed the door and just stared at Freddie standing behind the door sweating, but he looked relieved. How do the cops know you? She wasn't a cop. That was Billy's partner. But we really got to do what we got to do and get up out of here. Now, the next morning, Daphne told Louis that she had to drop Nate off at work for a meeting and that it should last about 2 hours, so that should give him enough time to talk to Monica. And about an hour later, Louis was taking the elevator up to the 3rd floor. This would be the moment that Monica realizes how much of a son of a that Nate really was, and she would leave Nate for good and get back with him. When Louis walked in the room, Monica was in mid-laugh until she saw him. Why are you here? She was reaching for the intercom to call the nurse's station. No, wait, Monica. Can I just talk to you for about 10 minutes? I need to tell you some really important stuff about Nate and what happened to you. You have 10 minutes. Louis explained everything to Monica, from Nate blackmailing Freddie, Nate keeping Layla from him going to Atlanta to get his son back, everything. But Monica was sitting there emotionless. Monica, did you hear anything that I said? After hearing all of that, I know you're not going to stay with him. I'm marrying him, Louis. Marrying him? What? I knew about everything you just told me. Nate told me everything. He told you exactly what I just said, like the true version. Yes, the exact same thing that you just said. And you're still going to marry him? Listen, Louis. The doctors told me if I would have been hit a little closer to the center of my brain, I wouldn't be here. Life is not promised to anyone, and I'm tired of going back and forth. And before all of this, Nate was the man I was going to marry. He was the man that I chose, and I'm sticking with my decision. Louis couldn't believe what he was hearing. Okay, wait a minute, Monica. After everything I told you, along with what he's doing to me and keeping Layla from me, like I said, he told me everything. But listen, my house is yours, Louis, if you want it. Nate will give you the keys and arrange the transfer into your name. And Layla, I'll miss her, but she should be with her father. Monica, do you still? Don't, Louis. If you want to know if I loved you, I did. And part of me always will. But I made my decision. So if you don't mind, could you just leave? Louis walked to the door, looked back, and felt like that was the last time he'd see Monica. That was the end of Louis Waters and Monica Kenny. Daphne was on her way to pick up Nate, but he called and told her that his meeting was gonna, run over, so he'll just call Abby to have her to come and get him. Daphne didn't like how that sounded because she felt like there was distance starting to form between her and Nate. She hung up, but then her phone rang again. Hello? Hey, this Lewis. I'm done. Already? What happened? What did she say? Is she leaving him? No. What do you mean, no? Did you tell her everything? Yeah, but she said that Nate had already told her and that it really didn't make a difference what I said. She's sticking beside him. Even after everything, she's staying with them. So whatever plans you thought you had with Nate, you might as well forget it because it's over. Lewis, I'll talk to you when I get home. So Daphne ended her call with Lewis, threw her phone in the passenger seat, made a U-turn, and headed to the hospital. Daphne was just sitting in a chair across from Monica's bed while she slept. She was thinking about what all she could have done to Monica, but she wasn't that type of person. So she decided to just sit there until Monica woke up. When Monica finally did wake up, she looked towards Daphne, but she acted like she always knew she'd be there. She wasn't startled or surprised to see her. How are you, Monica? Outside of this headache, I'm fine, I guess. Daphne moved her chair closer to Monica's bed. You're probably wondering who I am. You're Daphne Coleman, Nate's ex-girlfriend. He told me that you might be stopping by. Nice to meet you. Is there something that I can help you with, Daphne? Nate won't be coming for a while. His meeting was extended for another hour. I know, he told me. Great. And I appreciate you being there to cater to his needs while I'm here. But rest assured, as soon as I'm out, your services will no longer be needed. I'll be able to take care of my fiance on my own. Daphne didn't know what to say because Nate never mentioned anything about marrying Monica. Listen, Daphne, I don't want to be mean to you because you haven't given me a reason to be. But the situation is what it is. And I know you probably still love Nate. I mean, he can be a wonderful man when he wants to be. But we're getting back together. So can I just ask you to respect that and leave us alone? Daphne was seething and asking herself, why hadn't she held that pillow over that bee's head when she had the chance? Monica, he was going to marry me. I know. He told me that. I'm sorry, Daphne. We were trying to have a baby. I know. Nate told me that too. So he's pretty much told you everything about me, huh? No, Daphne. He told me everything about you. Daphne wanted so badly to tell Monica that she was pregnant because she doubted that Nate told her that. But she was going to leave that for Nate to tell. And after that was done, Daphne felt like she wouldn't have to worry about Monica ever again. So it was the next day, and Freddie had given Nate all of the instructions. The flight, the time, location. Joni had suggested an old abandoned auto repair shop about 40 minutes away from her house. She thought that would be a good location since it sat right off of the interstate. After getting the instructions, Nate went by to see Monica. She told him that Lewis and Daphne stopped by just like he thought they would, but Nate wasn't surprised. Nate decided to pull a Lewis and tell Monica everything. Nate could see worry in Monica's eyes, and then she said, I don't want you to go to Atlanta. I know you don't, but I don't have a choice. I have to get our son back. I know, but why won't you call the police like Tim suggested? Monica, Tim can suggest whatever he wants, but his kids are at home. I'm trying to save ours. So, will you please trust my decision on this? After a long moment of holding back tears, Monica finally agreed and told Nate that she trusted him. So the next morning, Nate was preparing to leave, and Tim was over still trying to convince him to call the police. But Nate wasn't having it, and he wasn't going to continue to have that conversation with Tim. So he grabbed the duffel bag with the $5 million and headed to the airport. Right after Nate left, Tim called Martins and Davis to let them know that Nate had left. Because little did Nate know, Tim had filled the detectives in on everything, and they too were on their way to Atlanta. Nate was in first class. He was very flustered. The flight attendant gave him 2 bottles of scotch, and as he was pouring it in his cup, he noticed that his hands were shaking. He hurried up and downed the drink. He had to get himself together because his son's life depended on him. He made it to Atlanta, got a rental car, and threw the duffel bag in the trunk. He put the directions in the GPS, but he felt like somebody was watching him. He looked around, didn't notice anything, got in the car, and headed to the address that he got from Freddie. Freddie and Joni made it to the location a little bit before Nate did. They wanted to go back over their plan and make sure they were there to see him arrive because they wanted to see if he was going to involve anybody else. Okay, so remember, when he pulls up, he knows that you'll be the one getting the money. And like we said, if he knows that I'm still with the boy, he'll be more willing to do what we say. Then Freddie took the 9 out of the glove box and told Joni to put it in her waist and that it was for show and to lift up her shirt so that he could see it and know that she meant business. Okay, are you okay with this, Joni? Yeah, I'm good. I only have to do this one thing and then we're out of here to spend the rest of our lives together. And just as they were talking, they saw a dark colored sedan turn into the parking lot. Freddie knew it was Nate, so he flashed his headlights twice, just like he told Nate that he would. Then his phone rang. Hello? You got the money? I got it. Anyone in the car with you, Nate? I hope not, because I don't want to snap little Nate's neck. Listen, I told you I was by myself. Send Nathaniel over. No, Nate. I'm sending my girl first. When she makes it back to the car with the money, then I'll send over the kid. No, send him first. Nate, shut the up. You are not in a position to negotiate anything. And you just do what I say and pray that I give the kid back. Now get the money because she's coming out. Freddie got to looking around at the other 2 abandoned buildings to make sure Nate wasn't up to any sneaky stuff. And then he okayed Joni to get out. Now, Tim, Martins, and Davis, along with some other officers, were belly down on the 3rd floor of one of the other abandoned buildings, watching everything. Okay, we have movement from the Dodge. Who is that? We don't know, Tim. Davis spoke into his radio and told the officers to keep an eye on the woman. A voice came back through the radio saying that they had an opportunity. I repeat, we have an open hit. Do we take it? No, hold. Now Nate got out of the car and took the money out of the trunk. Joni was standing directly in front of Nate. She looked him up and down like she couldn't stand him. So you're the man who caused Freddie all this pain. I have your money. Now get my son. Open the bag. For what? It's all there. I don't have to lie. Just open the bag. Then she lifted her shirt. Did you see that? She has a gun, detective. We still have a hit. Hold. Do you hear me? Hold. Holding. They were watching Nate unzip the bag, look at Joni, and then he zipped it back up. Freddie was sitting there holding Nathaniel and watching the exchange, but he didn't know what was taking so long. He wanted her to just grab the bag and come back to the car. He felt like something wasn't right. He started looking around but didn't see anything. But that was until he looked again and caught the glimpse of sunlight reflect off of something in a window. And that's when he saw a man's head behind a pair of binoculars. Like I said, it's all there. Now give me my son. I hate you. I don't even know you. You don't even deserve a sweet, precious child like Nathaniel. Nate lunged at Joni and told her to give him his son. Then Joni pulled the 9 from her waist. When Freddie saw Joni pull that piece, he kicked the door open, trying to run towards them. No, don't do that. He was trying to get to them as quickly as he could. Tim started yelling that she had a 9, that she was going to unalive his brother. We have a hit. Do you want us to take it? Take it now. Nate was looking into the barrel of the 9. He closed his eyes because he knew if she fired, he was good as gone. Because it was dang near point blank in the center of his chest. He got lucky when Freddie did it, but he knew his luck had ran out. Joni was just standing there smiling at Nate while her future played out in her head of her, Freddie, and Nathaniel living on the beach, enjoying life, the life she always wanted. It was so beautiful. Then a single pop let off, and a tiny red hole appeared in the center of her forehead, exiting out of the back. Freddie was only a few feet away, so close that blood, bone, and brain matter hit him in the face. Joni's body fell, and Freddie slid down beside her, screaming, holding her face in her hands. Joni, wake up. Oh my God, baby, please wake up, please. Freddie was hysterical, but then he felt hands on him, pulling him away from Joni. There were cop cars coming from everywhere, lights, sirens, everything. And all Freddie could do was look into the lifeless eyes of the woman he was supposed to spend the rest of his life with. Tim was standing in front of Nate asking him if he was okay, but Nate was in total shock. It took him a minute to snap out of it, but he finally said that he was okay while staring at Joni's lifeless body. Freddie was taken into custody, but would be returned to Chicago to stand trial for the crimes he committed there. Nate, Tim, and Nathaniel made it back to Chicago by 9, and Nate was so happy to have Nathaniel back that he took him and Layla to the park. Nate, you know those two should be in bed. I know, Tim. I just want them to tire themselves out. Well, it might just work because they haven't stopped running yet. So, when are you going to see Monica? I don't know, Tim, and I'm not sure if I'm going to. Whoa. Wait a minute. What are you talking about, Nate? Listen, there was a lot for me to think about on my way to Atlanta, and all I could think about was, what if I didn't get Nathaniel back? But now I'm being given the chance to have exactly what I've always wanted. I don't know if I could just give that up to be with Monica. Nate, I know you're not saying that you're considering leaving Monica. Not with what... Man, y'all just went through all of that together. Are you seriously thinking about abandoning her? It's not abandonment, Tim. Well, what is it? Listen, I haven't made up my mind, but I am leaning towards accepting this baby. Will you support me in that decision, Tim? Nate, you're my brother, and you know I always have your back, but what you're doing to Monica, do I have your support, Tim? Yes. The next day, Lewis went to his interview for the records clerk position that Eva told him about. He gone through a tour of the records room and a quick test run of the filing system, and then he headed back to Mrs. Roberts' office for the interview. When she got to the questions about Lewis' last job and why he left, Lewis wanted to lie, but he thought he wasn't going to get the job anyway, so he told the truth about him and Freddie getting into some trouble, getting fired, and ending up in jail. And after he said that, Mrs. Roberts asked him if him going to jail had anything to do with him trying to provide for his daughter. Lewis was shocked and surprised that she knew this information, but he thought that Eva must have told her, and for good reason. She told him that there weren't a lot of men out there trying to fight for their kids. That's what Eva keeps telling me. Eva really thinks that you'll be a good fit for this job. And for Eva to be so young in this field, my niece is a good judge of character. She wouldn't be wrong this time, would she, Lewis? Oh, no, ma'am, she wouldn't be. Okay, I hope not. Well, we're done for today. I'll let Eva know when I'll need to see you again. See me again? For what exactly, Mrs. Roberts? To fill out the forms and get your start date. You're hired, Mr. Waters. Half an hour later, Lewis and Eva went to lunch. She told him that she informed her aunt about him trying to get Layla back because those type of things, they're close to her heart. Lewis was so happy about the job and talking to Nate that he couldn't help but smile. And Eva asked him why was he so happy. Lewis told her that the guy who has Layla said that he was going to give her back. And Eva was very happy for Lewis. She got up and went to his side of the table to give him a hug. Their faces were so close. A kid in the booth behind them said, "Ooh, they gonna kiss." Lewis and Eva couldn't help but laugh. After that, Lewis told her that Nate also promised him a house, free and clear. Really? So you're going to have a house? Yep. My daughter, a house, and a job. All I need now is what? A good woman. Well, I heard those are hard to come by. You got to really work for one of those. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Well, if you're willing to put in the work, I think you have a pretty decent chance in finding one. So after lunch, Lewis walked Eva back to her job, and then he headed back to Daphne's. As he was approaching the door, he saw a tall, brown-skinned man who sort of resembled Nate climb out of a car. He stood in front of the door as Lewis was approaching and stood there with his arms crossed. Excuse me? You're him. I don't know what you're talking about, but can you move so I can go in? No, I've been watching you with Daphne. Who are you, man? Lewis asked the guy what did he mean by he'd been watching them, and he asked him who was he. That's not your child. It's mine. I know Daphne told you the baby she's carrying is yours, but it's not. That's my baby. Hold up, bro. You got me confused with somebody else. Who do you think I am? You're Nate Kinney, right? Daphne's ex-boyfriend? No, my name is Lewis Waters. Oh man, I'm sorry. This situation has really been on my mind heavy and I just don't know what to do. Trevor started walking away. Lewis stopped him and told him that he knew Nate Kinney and that maybe he could be of some help. So they went down to a restaurant where Trevor told Lewis everything from the day Nate told Daphne he didn't want her to Nate getting back with his ex-wife. After listening to Trevor for about an hour, Lewis really felt bad for him. Trevor said that he could feel it in his heart that the baby was his. And Lewis told him that sometimes your heart can be wrong, and he knew from experience. He told Trevor that he'd have to get a DNA test, and Trevor knew that, but he also knew that Daphne wouldn't agree to it. So Trevor asked Lewis if he could tell Nate about him and tried to get Nate to convince Daphne to get a DNA test. Lewis really didn't want any parts of the situation because Nate still had Layla and the house that he had to sign over. Trevor said that he would be appreciative of anything Lewis could do. And Lewis thought about, all the blessings that he's been receiving, like from Eva and Daphne. So he knew he couldn't turn his back on Trevor. So he asked for his number and Lewis told him that he would get back with him soon. Okay, so the next day, Nate met Lewis at Monica's house to drop off Layla and to have Lewis sign a quick claim deed. When he pulled up, Lewis was sitting on the steps. Nate got out, went to the back passenger side, and got Layla out of the car seat. Once he got halfway up the driveway, he let Layla's hands go, and she ran to Lewis. He picked her up, showered her with kisses, and told her how much he loved her. When Nate walked up, Lewis asked him how was Monica doing, but Nate ignored him and told him that they needed to go inside so that they could take care of business. Once inside, Nate gave Lewis the keys back to the truck, and he told him to sign the quick claim deed, file it downtown, and the house would be his. While Lewis was signing the paper, Nate was looking at him with disgust. Once Lewis was done, Nate walked over to Layla to hug her, and then he asked Lewis how would he afford the house. I mean, it's paid for, I know, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to pay taxes. It's how Ford lost his house. You mean it's how you took it. But not that it's any of your business, but I have a job. Nate just looked at Layla and sighed. He knew he was going to miss her, but now his son was back and he had a baby on the way. He said to himself that he would get over Layla. He picked her up, gave her another hug, and then passed her to Lewis. Lewis thanked him, but Nate didn't respond. He was about to walk out the door, but then he closed it back and told Lewis that he didn't deserve Layla. And Lewis didn't have a clue where that came from. So he told Nate that he could leave because they already took care of the business that he was there for. But Nate told him that he wasn't going anywhere until he finished saying what he had to say. You had this beautiful little girl before, but you lost her because you don't know the importance of being responsible. You don't know how to take care of business or earn a living. You are just so pathetic. You can't hold a job because you're lazy and worthless, and you won't amount to a damn thing. Nate needed to get that off of his chest, but at the same time, he was thinking if he was truly mad at Lewis or himself, because he knew that he wouldn't even know Lewis if he hadn't invited him into his life by hiring him to seduce Monica. Monica finding out, then leaving him to be with Lewis. That led Nate to get with Daphne, and now he was expecting his first child, which he knew he would leave Monica for again. Even though he know it's going to hurt both of them, but Nate knew that he really wasn't angry at Lewis. He was really angry at himself. I just want you to know that I dislike everything about you. After everything you've done, you've made out pretty good for yourself. But let me tell you, I will be watching you because you are now a father again. But if you let this child down in any way, I promise you, I will come back and take her from you again. You understand? Lewis just pulled Layla closer and stared in Nate's eyes, wishing he could end him right there. Good riddance, Lewis Waters. A couple of hours later, Lewis invited Eva and her daughter over. He wanted to give her a tour of the house, and Eva loved it. And she told him that it was in a good neighborhood with a good school district. Lewis said there was only one thing missing, but he waited on asking because he didn't want to scare anyone away. and even knew what he was talking about and said that the person might be braver than he thought. Then he asked her if he could have her opinion on something. She said sure, and he told her about Trevor and his situation, and that he had a strange feeling that Nate was going to leave Monica again. He wanted to tell her everything, but didn't think that it was a good idea with her just coming out of a coma because he knew she'd be hurt. Do you think I should tell Monica? I don't know, Lewis. It's good that you're concerned, but do you really think she needs to go through more pain? I mean, if he's going to leave, then she will be hurt. I don't think you should involve yourself with that. But I do think Nate should know whether or not the baby is his. And I know you don't care about him, but if that was you in that situation, wouldn't you want to know? Lewis really didn't want to tell Nate anything, but he agreed with Eva. A little later on, Lewis received a phone call from Monica. She asked if he could come to see her. That made him nervous, but she told him that everything was okay. She just needed to talk. So Lewis went to the hospital, and when he walked in, Monica was sitting up, in the bed watching TV. She no longer wore the hospital gown. She had on pajamas, and she didn't have the bandages around her head anymore. And that allowed Lewis to see where they shaved the spot in order to do the surgery. I know I've seen better days. I'm scheduled to get out of here tomorrow, and I'm making an appointment with my girl so that I can look human again. You look fine, Monica. And Lewis went over there and gave her a peck on the cheek. You look pretty good yourself, Lewis. How is everything? Is everything okay? Yeah, everything is fine. I was hoping that you brought Layla. Well, I didn't want to confuse her. I left her with a friend. A lady friend? Lewis wanted to lie, but he didn't see the point in it since it was Monica who wanted things the way they were. So he told her yes. He could see the sadness in her eyes, but she said, good for you, Lewis. I'm happy for you. What's going on, Monica? Why did you call me? Well, since you have Layla, I'll assume that Nate is back in Atlanta, okay? That he has Nathaniel and that he signed the house and car over to you? Yeah, but shouldn't he have told you all of this? Lewis, I've called Nate I don't know how many times, but no answer. I even called Tim a couple of times as well, and he didn't answer either, and that's not like him. Like, what's going on, Lewis? Do you know where he is? Like, is he okay? Did they catch the guy who did this to us? Maybe he came back to Chicago and something happened to Nate. Monica fell into Lewis's arms crying, and Lewis hated to see her like that, and he had a funny feeling about why Nate hadn't talked to Monica. It had to do with him finally having a natural born child. So now he decided to get rid of Monica. Lewis hoped he was wrong, but he had a strong feeling he was right. He told Monica everything would be fine and that he'd find Nate for her. Lewis left the hospital and went straight over to Nate's house. He called him several times on the drive over, but his call kept going to voicemail. He tried one more time once he pulled up and there was still no answer, so he got out banging on the door until Nate answered it. What in the is wrong with you? Why are you here? Didn't I tell you that I never wanted to see your sorry ass again? You know I have every right to call the police. You need to let me in because I saw Monica today and she told me that you haven't been to see her. That's none of your business. Now get off of my property. Nate was pushing the door closed until he heard Lewis say that he knew why Nate hadn't gone to see Monica, and it was because of Daphne's baby. What do you know about that? I'm not telling you out here, so let me in. Nate pulled the door open to let Lewis in, and they went to the living room. Lewis was about to sit down, and Nate told him not to sit and just get to the point. Just tell me what you have to say and then leave. So Lewis told Nate how him and Daphne met and how she was expecting to get him back. So you were staying with her? Did the two of you? No. It was nothing like that. And our dealings with each other are over. I now have a place to stay, and she feels like she got you back from Monica, and she's right, isn't she? Like I said before, this is none of your business, but I appreciate you telling me this. Listen, Nate. Things aren't what they seem. She's lying to you. The other day, a man stopped by Daphne's house. He thought I was you. His name is Trevor. Does that name sound familiar? No. Well, he's Daphne's ex-boyfriend. Okay, but what does that have to do with me? What it has to do with you is that this man swears that the baby that Daphne is carrying is his. Nate sat in what Lewis told him for a while, and then he decided to take a long hot shower to process his thoughts. Nate had gotten several calls from Monica, a few from his secretary saying that his wife said call her because it was urgent. He even got a call from Tim warning him that if he didn't go see Monica and tell her something, he was going to do it. And Nate felt horrible because he knew that he should tell Monica something because she deserved it, but at the same time, he was scared. He knew that it was going to hurt her deeply when he told her they wouldn't be getting back together. And he just wasn't ready to see that type of pain done to her. And on the flip side, he wasn't really sure how things would be with Daphne either. Yeah, their 6 months together felt good and he enjoyed it. But would a child change things for better or worse? And Nate was really tired of being a playboy. He was ready to settle down. He just didn't understand why he was hesitating. He kept telling himself that the family is all he ever wanted. So he finally decided that he would go see Monica the next day to get, he just needed to get this over with so that he could move on with his life. In the middle of his thoughts, Daphne joined him in the shower and he asked her again if the baby was his, and she said, of course. So the next day, Nate took a deep breath and entered Monica's hospital room. Monica was standing beside the bed, and when she turned around and saw Nate, she ran to him, hugging him and telling him how much she was worried about him. Is everything okay? Did you get Nathaniel back? Yes, he's fine. Well, why didn't you let me know? You had me over here worrying and overthinking. You know they're letting me out today. I asked Tabitha to pick me up, but since you're here, I could tell her not to come. I didn't come to take you home, Monica. What? What are you talking about, Nate? There's something I have to tell you, Monica. I guess this has something to do with Daphne. Yes. Monica, she's pregnant. Nate could see the pain go through Monica's body, but he didn't expect her to say what she said next. Well, she can get rid of it. I don't want to get rid of my baby. I want my child. I want my child in my life. I want to raise my child. This is what I've wanted all of my life. You know that. I do know that. But how is that going to work out for us? There's not going to be an us, Monica. Either I choose the baby or us. And I chose the baby. So you're going to be with this woman. Like, marry her. Yes, Monica. After everything you've done to me, Nate, and you're leaving me again because I can't have a child? Damn, Nate, you could have at least came up with something new. Nate stepped towards Monica, trying to comfort her, and Monica almost knocked the taste buds out of his mouth. No, get away from me. Just tell me how I can get my things out of your house so that I don't run into you and it. Just tell me when you like to move, and I'll make the house available to you. Why, thank you, Nate. Now get the hell out of my sight. Just then, Tabitha walked in. Oh, hey, Nate, where have you been? We've been trying to... Tabitha, no, don't waste your time. Don't even talk to him. Nate was just leaving and leaving for good this time. So Nate left. He called Lewis over because he really didn't believe what he told him about Trevor. So he had Lewis to come over because he wanted to call his bluff. So he had Lewis to call Trevor so that they could set up a meeting. And he did. Lewis did his part and then he left. On his drive from Nate's house, Lewis' phone rang. Hello? You have a collect call from the Cook County Department of Corrections. Will you accept the charges? Lewis had to pull the truck over because he was heated. Yes. Why are you calling me? What? After all these years of us knowing each other, and you act like this to me? You ain't been thinking about me, bro? You didn't even wonder what happened to me after you sent your boy, Nate Kenny, to get his son? He ain't my boy, but what happened? Well, I was in Atlanta staying with Joni, the girl I was with before Kia. We were going to get that money and then just go off and be together. But your boy took her out. That motherfucker unalived her, man. She's gone. Like Lewis, she gone. Lewis could hear the emotion in Freddie's voice, and he actually felt sorry for him. I'm sorry, Freddie, man. Like, for real, I'm sorry. Oh, no, it's cool. They called me, brought me back. They're trying to bring me up on attempted 187 charges, but my PD, she a young white chick, and I think the judge will believe her when she say I'm insane. She got records for when I spent time in the mental hospital after unaliving my dad. She's gonna say everything they did, like trigger some mental stuff or something that made me go temporarily insane again. Man, you not insane. You knew exactly what you were doing. You went to unalive Nate and Monica. No, I went to unalive Nate. I told you that Monica was a mistake. But you're right. I knew what I was doing. I always do. But they don't know that. My PD is going to try to give me a year in a mental institution and then I'll be out. You know you deserve worse for what you did, Freddie. Bruh, you don't know half the stuff I've done. And it seems like nobody has found out yet because it hasn't come back to bite me in my tail. But if things work out, in a year, I'll be out and I'm going to pay Nate another visit because he deserves it. Man, that would be the most ignorant move you ever made. You'll be right back up in there. But that's if they catch me. But the way I see it, it will be worth it because that man played me. Whatever, Freddie. I gotta go. Hold up, Lewis. Because you know what? You played me too. You know what I'm saying? How I play you? Because you acted like a little bee and told Nate everything I told you. But don't worry. I got at least a year to figure out how I'm going to deal with you. Then Freddie hung up. Lewis knew Freddie was going to stick to what he said. But right now, Lewis had to get that out of his head because he couldn't spend every day looking over his shoulder. He had too many things happening in his life. He'll just have to worry about Freddie when the time came. So now Nate was at a small bar off Clark Street having a drink when he heard someone call his name. When he turned around, he saw Lewis and another man who dang near could pass for his brother. Nate, this is Trevor Morgan. Trevor extended his hand, but Nate didn't shake it. We aren't here to make friends. Lewis and Trevor sat down with Lewis sitting between the two men. So, who are you, Trevor? I used to date Daphne before you. Date? I thought people were supposed to give up dating after they got married. I do my research, Mr. Morgan, and I also know that you're married without children, but you're thinking that Daphne's baby is yours? What makes you think that? Because the day you threw her away, when you told her that you were going back to your ex-wife, she called me over to relieve some stress, and we had like an unprotected meeting in the bedroom. Okay, and we've had several of those over 4 to 5 months. So what? She told me I was the father, Nate. Okay, again, she told me the same thing. Nate, Trevor, I told you, y'all need to get a test done. Lewis, I already told you that she won't. Well, there's no reason for me to get a test done because I know I'm the father. If you're so sure that you're the father, Nate, why did she tell me that I was? Like you said, I threw her away. She knew she couldn't be with me and she didn't want to raise the child alone, so she told you that you were the father. Man, that's some bullshit. So you're saying that since she's with you and telling you that you're the father, that she doesn't have to submit to a test? Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm not letting this go because as soon as she has that baby, I will get a court order for her to take that test. And when I do, what are you going to do when you find out that baby isn't yours? Trevor, I can't believe that you're going through all of this. You don't even have kids now. Have you ever gotten a girl pregnant in high school, college? Trevor thought about it and said no. So what makes you think you are even capable of getting Daphne pregnant? What are you trying to say, Nate? Maybe you're sterile. Me? What about you? You just said y'all were raw dogging it for about 4 or 5 months and she didn't get pregnant. Lewis even told me about the situation with your wife. So what's your excuse? Maybe you should get checked. Nate didn't like that. He tried to get at Trevor, but Lewis was holding them back. Listen, maybe the both of you should get checked. Will you do it, Nate? I just want to find out what's what. That's all I want to do. Well, you know what? I can do that. Only if we use the doctor of my choosing. So the next day, Nate and Trevor were at the doctor's office, sitting in the waiting room, waiting for the results. Test results like this usually take a few days, but with Nate's money and connections, they were able to get their results the same day. After about an hour, they were called to the back. Okay, gentlemen, we have the results. Who should I read first? Nate was scared silent, so Trevor said that he'd go first. All right, Mr. Morgan, let me see here. Okay. You're fine. Your count is good. It's actually pretty high. Trevor let out a sigh of relief. Like, oh my gosh, thank you. Mr. Kenny, you're next. Okay, let me see. Okay, Mr. Kenny, I'm sorry to inform you, but you have azoospermia. What? What the hell is that? It means that the results found no raw oaks whatsoever. Once Trevor left, the doctor did a quick examination on Nate and let him know that he had varicocele, which is a condition that usually occurs during puberty. If left untreated, it can cause infertility. Dr. Phillips went on to explain that it is an enlarged mass of veins in the spermatic cord in the scrotum and that it could be caused by several things like pressure, oxygen deprivation, heat injury, or toxins. But don't worry, it's an easy fix, a quick outpatient procedure where I'll tie off the veins, and after about a month or two, you'll be back to normal. So you're saying that I'll be able to have children. That's exactly what I'm saying. Nate finished up with the doctor, and when he walked outside, he was surprised to see Trevor still there. I'm sorry about your diagnosis, man. Oh, look, it's not a big deal. I just need a simple surgery, but I'll be fine. That's good. Well, I guess this proves the baby is mine. No, it just proves that the baby isn't mine. Yeah, I guess you're right. So what do we do now? We don't do anything. This is no longer my problem. And once I let Daphne know what I think of her, she won't be my problem either. But what am I supposed to do? I know Daphne, she'll never admit that the child isn't yours, even after you tell her. Like I said, that's your problem now. When Nate got home, the house felt strange, but then he realized that this was the day that Monica was supposed to come and get her things. He was hoping that she hadn't, but once he went into the bedroom and saw the empty closet and nightstand, he knew that it was over. He sat on the edge of the bed, dropped his face in his hands, and he knew that he lost Monica forever. So over at Daphne's, she was celebrating with Brownie, but Brownie wasn't into it. It just doesn't seem right, Daphne. Brownie. It was going to be me and Nate anyway if his wife didn't come back into the picture. But she did. And I took her right back out of it. Listen, Brownie, all of this happened for a reason. Now toast up. I can't. I can't toast to you lying to this man about a baby that isn't his. As soon as that baby is born, he's going to know the truth. How? Nate and Trevor are dang near identical. And that doesn't make you feel the slightest bit of guilt? Huh? No. Okay, girl, it's your life. Do what you want to do, but leave me out of it. And I'm about to leave. And just then the buzzer rang. Who is it? It's Nate. What are you doing here, Nate? You never come by unexpected. Buzz me up, Daphne. Okay. Girl, I need to go because I'm not as good at this as you are. And once that man look into my eyes, he's going to know something is up. Don't go yet. Wait until he gets here. Say hi and then leave. After a few minutes, Nate was knocking at the door. Daphne opened it, gave Nate a hug, and let him in. She let him know that Brownie was just leaving, but she wanted to say hi. Nate and Brownie spoke to each other. Brownie gave Daphne a hug, and then she dipped. You ladies were drinking champagne? Aren't you supposed to be pregnant? Supposed to be. I am, but that's sparkling grape juice. This is such a nice surprise, Nate. What brings you over? Why would you do this? Do what? Tell me that baby is mine when you know it's not. Daphne felt sick at the stomach. She was wrecking her brain trying to figure out, how did he know? Was it Lewis? Did he somehow meet Trevor? I don't know what you're talking about, Nate. Stop lying to me. I'm not lying. If the baby isn't yours, then whose baby is it then? Who the hell is Trevor? Nobody. A guy I used to date before you, but he's married. He's not the father. You slept with him. I know because we met. Yeah, I slept with him the day you dumped me for your ex-wife. I wasn't in a relationship, so I could be with whoever I wanted. Yeah, you could. And it was unprotected, and you ended up pregnant by him. Why do you keep saying that, Nate? Because that's what he told me. Nate, listen. I left Trevor for you. He always talked about wanting kids. He was married. He thought that one time was going to be more. I told him I was pregnant and he automatically assumed that it was his. And I met with him to tell him that it wasn't. I really want to believe you, Daphne. You can, Nate. Why can't I, Daphne? Because you'll never lie to me? That's right. What kind of woman would I be to tell you that this baby is yours if it wasn't? I don't know. Maybe a lying, worthless, filthy trick, I suppose. What? How dare you talk to me like that in my house? Daphne, the baby is not mine. It's impossible. No, it's not impossible. I'm sterile. I was tested, and the doctor said I've likely been like this since I was a kid. Why would you do this? Why would you lie to me like that? I left my wife for this, and you left me before this. We were trying to have a baby, get married. I didn't take a work transfer because you said we will be fine. Now I'm out of work. So you lie about a child in order to get what you want? I deserve it. I deserve everything you promised me. I didn't do anything wrong. Then she ran over to Nate and grabbed him by his lapels. Okay, listen. So is his. But he doesn't have to know. You can raise him like he's yours. You're doing that with Nathaniel now. Just do it with this baby. Daphne, let go of me. And seeing the look in his eyes, she let go because she didn't want to challenge that rage. Listen, all right, Daphne, I'm going to walk out of this door. And just know that I'm doing you a favor by letting it in right here, because normally I would let up until I have ruined every part of your life. I'm trying to change for the better because I see where that type of behavior has gotten me. Nate then put his finger in Daphne's face and said, but don't you ever try to contact me or I'll forget what I just said and you will be very sorry. Now, Monica, she was staying with Tabitha and she was sitting out on the porch just thinking about how much things have changed in her life. Tabitha came out and joined her and she could tell what she was thinking. Forget about him, girl. Nate, it's not worth it. I'm forgetting, but it's hard. I gave Lewis up and now he's found somebody else. He seems happy. Honestly, you gave him up because you didn't want him. He was wrong for you the day Nate picked him for you. But time heals all wounds, even the Nate infected ones. But do you think he's thinking about me? Let's not. Don't put yourself through that, Monica. But we were going to get married. Tabitha could tell that Monica was about to cry, so she gave her a hug and just allowed her to let it out. But in the midst of all that, Tabitha noticed a black Mercedes pulling up in front of her house, and out stepped Nate. I don't believe this. What? Then Daphne looked up toward the street and she saw Nate. Don't you even think about it. You have done enough harm to her. Nate totally ignored Tabitha. Monica, please let me have a word with you. Did you not hear me? You have already done enough to her. Monica, look, just let him go. And Nate, get off my effing premises. No, I want to talk to her. Tabitha, look, I want to hear what he has to say. And Tabitha, you stay. But this has nothing to do with her. This is about us. There is no us. That ended the day you got that bee pregnant. So if you have something to say, you can say it in front of Tabitha. Monica, things weren't supposed to happen this way. Everything that we've gone through to get back together, we just can't throw it away. Nate, our marriage was shit the day we got married. I just didn't know it then. That's not true, Monica. We were good and we can be again. How, Nate? You have a baby on the way. And you said that you wanted to raise that baby. I can never give you one, so I will always be in that lady's shadow. Nate closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and told Monica that he hadn't been totally honest with her. And Tabitha asked him when had he ever. Nate gave Tabitha an evil look, and then he told Monica that the baby wasn't his. What? How do you know that? We had a test done. It's not mine. You can see the paperwork. Monica, I know you're not falling for this. Tabitha, no one asked for your opinion. F you, Nate. I'm talking to Monica. Monica, please don't make the same mistake again. Just tell him no. Tabitha, she can answer for herself. He's right, Tabitha. I can. So what are you offering, Nate? Come back and things will be exactly the way they were. Really? You mean like when you were effing your secretary, Tori? Or maybe like when you were taking pills to make you impotent, so I would go out and sleep with the man you paid to seduce me so you could divorce me? It would be like that again? And would you be the same loving man? The man that blackmailed Lewis, that stole his best friend's house from him and his mother? Would it be the man that forced Freddie Ford to come to our house and try to unalive us both and kidnap Nathaniel? Would I be so lucky to be married to the man that would not come to see me while I was still in the hospital? And when he did, it was to tell me that you were leaving me once again because you got some other woman pregnant and you'd rather be with that child and her mother than with me? But hold it, that was before you found out the kid wasn't really yours. But now that you have that little bit of information, now you can come back to me and actually expect me to take you back? Nate, I have one thing to say to you. You must be out your effing mind. There you go, Monica, baby. Hallelujah. That's my girl. Nate, I've given you all I had to give. My love, my devotion. Lord knows if I could have given you a child, I would have. But that wasn't the hand he dealt me. It just wasn't. And I almost gave my life being with you. So now I'm through. I have nothing left to give to you. But most importantly, I have nothing more I want to give to you. Now, if you please, do as Tabitha said and leave her effing premises. Nate was looking like he wanted to say something, but he just walked off, got in his car, and drove away. Now over there with Daphne. Daphne had spent the last 3 days trying to find a job in her field. She knew that her unemployment would last 6 months and her health insurance was going to run out around that time as well. She had retirement she would have to draw from because her savings was a joke. And she had to do all of this just because Trevor couldn't leave well enough alone. Fine. If he wants the world to know about this baby, then everyone should know. A few hours later, Daphne had gotten her hair done and her face snatched. She pulled out her compact to do a final once over. Then she rang the doorbell. After a few moments, the door opened and a mild-looking, somewhat pudgy woman stood in the doorway. Can I help you? Yes, Mrs. Morgan, you can. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Daphne Coleman, and I'm your husband's baby's mama. Child, this lady's crazy. Now, 2 weeks passed, and Nate was sitting out back watching Nathaniel play with the puppy that he begged him for, and he was just reminiscing on his life thus far. He'd gone back to work, found a new nanny for Nathaniel, and he no longer thought about Monica. He knew they were over, and he sat there, but there was something gnawing at him, a feeling that he just couldn't get rid of. It was a feeling of victimization. He had been lied to, used, and that didn't sit well with Nate. And even though he told Daphne that he would not seek revenge for what she had done to him, that just wasn't sitting right with him either. For the last few weeks, he had fought the urge to do anything about it. And since he was on the path of being a better person, he liked it. So he pulled out his phone to call and check on Trevor. After talking to Trevor, he found out that Daphne had shown up at his house and informed his wife about the child, that she said that he would never see the baby a day in his life. And Nate was shocked because he never took Daphne to be that type of person. And he was thinking that it was a good thing that he didn't marry her. But at the same time, he thought that Daphne's behavior was probably rooted in hurt and pain, which he could understand. So he left Nathaniel with the nanny, and Nate decided to go to the jewelry store. 2 hours later, he was standing in Daphne's living room. He told her that he had a change of heart, lowered himself to one knee, and proposed. Daphne tearfully accepted. As they shared in a moment of pure bliss, Nate told Daphne that his proposal came with some conditions because he had learned that the hard way from the last time with Monica. Daphne told Nate that she would do whatever he wanted as long as she was Mrs. Kinney. So Nate told her that he could not marry her as long as she was the mother to another man's child. But he did not believe in unaliving one. He said that he would only go through with marriage if she was signed over full custody with absolutely no rights or visits on her part to the father of the baby. He said that he'd already had the surgery done to fix his situation so they could try for their own children. Daphne was conflicted but agreed because what she wanted most was a life with Nate. So during her pregnancy, Daphne spent a majority of her time at Nate's place. She wanted to sell her house, but Nate told her that the market was horrible and she needed to wait until the prices went back up so that she wouldn't lose out on her investment. He told her that she could spend her time planning their wedding. She didn't have to work. She could take it easy. When it came to the wedding, he told her that the event could be as big or as small as she wanted it. He wanted big, but he left it up to her. He said that they could leak news of their upcoming wedding to the paper and have their photo in Jet magazine. So as the months passed, Daphne focused on the wedding. Nate even brought bridal magazines home to help her out. She got word that their picture would be in Jet and that a new series on BET about Million Dollar Brides would send a camera crew to the wedding. Then the time came for Daphne to give birth, and 2 days after she was released from the hospital, her, Nate, the baby, and two of Nate's attorneys met Trevor at his house with his attorney. Trevor's wife left him and they got in a divorce. After the attorneys looked over the contract, they said it was good, and Trevor and Daphne signed off on it. Nate reassured her that everything would be okay because now they could work on their own children, and Daphne seemed content with that. Daphne kissed the baby on the cheek, said bye baby, and she called him that because Nate thought that it wouldn't be a good idea to give the baby a name, so she wouldn't be attached. After that, the wedding would be taking place a week later. The day before the wedding, it was the talk of the town. She had dwindled her list down to 500 guests. It was going to take place on the top floor of the beautiful Harold Washington Public Library downtown. The night before the wedding, Daphne and Nate had dinner together, talked about their future, and then they went their separate ways because they wanted to be traditional, so they didn't stay together that night. The next day, the wedding was to start at 2 p.m. sharp. And when the clock struck 2, there were half a dozen photographers there, the camera crew from the Million Dollar Brides, a couple of heavy hitters, and Nate Kenny was nowhere to be found. Daphne had called Nate over a dozen times. Her bridal party and her mom stood around her trying to comfort her, but the calls kept going to voicemail. The camera crew, they were growing restless. The library coordinator was pressing Daphne to either start the wedding or end it. Daphne was so frustrated and angry. It was now 3 o'clock. She was thinking that maybe something happened to Nate. She couldn't take everybody being around her at that moment, so she asked them all to leave the bridal suite. She was trying not to cry and remain hopeful. Then there was a knock at the door, and she knew it was Nate, but when the door opened, it was Monica, and Daphne asked her why was she there. Monica told Daphne that she knew when she saw that wedding announcement in Jet magazine, she knew something was up because Nate did not appreciate that Daphne had lied to him about that baby, and if she knew her ex-husband like she thought she did, that entire wedding was a joke. But he spent a lot of money on this. He put my entire family up for the week to witness this beautiful occasion. We've been planning this for a moment. Like, we have been really into this. He done brought bridal magazines. We done set and picked out colors and all of this. Daphne, revenge, it doesn't have a price tag when it comes to Nate. He will spend however much money he needs to in order to get revenge against someone who done him wrong. And it looks like you're the target. Monica got up to leave and she heard Daphne let out this painful scream. So she ran over to her and asked her what was wrong. And Daphne told Monica about Nate convincing her to sign over full custody of her baby to the father. Do you think that was a part of his plan for revenge as well? Sadly, yes. I mean, I do think you deserve some of what you're getting, but no mother deserves to have her baby swindled from her. I hate this for you, and if you want, I will do whatever I can to help you get your baby back. Now, over there with Nate, he looked down at his watch and saw that it was after 3, and he was satisfied that Daphne had been sufficiently humiliated. You want to hold him? Baby, Nate over there with Trevor, and he been there the whole time. And being that he felt good about what he did, he didn't have any problems holding the baby. Y'all hold him. Look at him. He gets so big. Look at them chunky cheeks. Do you do you have everything you need to take care of him? Yeah, the universe works in strange ways. My new friend, she's a nurse and she works in the nursery unit and she helps me with a lot of things that, I need for him. Hey, let me ask you something. Did you name him yet? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have him. So, I named him Nate. You did? You named him Nate? That's my son's name too. Look, Nate, I hope you don't mind. Nate. No, Nate's a good name. And y'all, that is the end of the Million Dollar Demise. Get down in the comments and tell me what you think. From Freddie and Joni, what happened to Joni? From Tim telling the detectives what was going down. Do you think Tim should have minded his business or he did the right thing? From Nate finding out not only that the baby wasn't his and that he was sterile, honey. What did you think about that? And everything he put Monica through, it wouldn't have mattered because you couldn't even have a baby yourself. What did you think about Lewis? He got a job. It's like he's back on his feet. He has a job. He now has a house. He got his truck back. He about to have a new woman. Life seemed to be going good. Except for Freddie saying that when he get out, he gonna come looking for Lewis too, along with Nate. What do you think about Monica? Like, she wanted to be back with Nate. Regardless of what Lewis and Daphne told her, she didn't care. She wanted to be back with Nate. That was until Nate came and said, look, baby, we ain't finna get back together because old girl pregnant, whatever. And are you happy that Monica finally decided to choose herself over Nate, even though she was wondering, is he thinking about me? Maybe I should go back. How do you feel? Are you happy that she finally saw her worth and decided to choose herself instead of trying to choose a man all the time? And what do you think about this situation with Daphne? Like, she lied like the baby was Nate's. Nate found out about it. Then we get over here. He act like he want to be better. He tired of being the dude that he is. Got this woman thinking that they finna live happily ever after just to set her up to humiliate her. And he didn't even show up. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Y'all, get down in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the Million Dollar Demise, okay? There is a fourth book. I think it's called The Million Dollar Destiny, I think. I'm going to think about it. If y'all want me to make that the next one just to finish out this series, let me know. If not, I'll move on to something else, okay? And I want to thank all of you for even following this new channel, for enjoying the book recaps and reviews. I really appreciate that. Continue to share the video so that more people can come and join us, because I think we'll be having a good time. So get down in the comments. Let's talk about it. And I'll talk to y'all later.